So the question is this: are you one of the people that are the problems of the land? Because over every land, there are demons, there are pig headers, and then there are these helpless people. And the helpless person becomes the strategy of Jesus only after Jesus has succeeded in his life. I'd like for you to know that the redeemed of the Lord is God's strategy for the takeover of the earth.
You're welcome once again to God Seekers Network, and if this is the first time you're coming across us, we say a big welcome to you. This page was actually dedicated as a prayer and a worship mall where genuine seekers of God can come and take any of the content, and there is something that those contents are sure to do. They will furnish the reality of Jesus in your heart and bring you into deeper intimacy with him. We say welcome to you once again, because something is going to happen to your relationship with Jesus as you listen to this wonderful prayer session. We are sure that your life will never remain the same. Thank you so much. Thank you once again.
Mark chapter 5. And they that saw it told them how it befell to him that was possessed with the devils, and also concerning the swine. And they began to pray him to depart out of their coast. Now, this coast was the coast that Jesus had just given permission to demons to remain in. The men of the city came to Jesus and they said to Jesus, please leave our coast. We know that your presence in this place is helping human lives, but is collapsing our business. We keep pigs here, and we would rather have our pigs than have lives changed. What they did not realize, however, is the land out of which they were now praying Jesus to leave, because they actually prayed. They said, please leave our coast. They began to pray him to depart out of their coast. And when he was come into the ship, which means he answered their prayer. You want me to leave? All right, I'm checking out. So Jesus now, when he was come to the ship in verse 18, he that had been possessed with the devil prayed him that he might be with him. We've seen three groups of people praying, or three groups of prayers now. The first prayer was made by demons. Jesus granted them what they requested. The second prayer was made by the inhabitants of the land. Jesus granted them what they requested. The third prayer was made by the man that Jesus had healed. He prayed Jesus. He prayed him that he might be with him. He said, if they're chasing you out of our coast, wherever you go, I want to come with you. Howbeit, Jesus allowed him not, but said unto him, go home to your friends and tell them how great things the Lord has done for you and has had compassion on you. And he departed and began to publish in Decapolis how great things Jesus had done for him, and all men did marvel. How is it? We're talking about the manifestation of the sons of God. And I want you to understand that when the people of the city came and they now asked Jesus to leave their city, not knowing that Jesus had given leave to demons to stay, Jesus granted their request. But because Jesus answered and granted them their prayer request, that was why Jesus could no longer grant the prayer request of the man that he had showed mercy. Because I'd like for you to know that the redeemed of the Lord is God's strategy for the takeover of the earth. So when they say, hey, get out, he said, okay, don't worry, I'm leaving. But before you came, you already came too late. I had already made investment in a life. Before you came, We already resolved this matter. So you want me to go? They say yes. He said, with all pleasure, I'm leaving. But now the man in whose life Jesus had made that investment also wanted to check out. Say, sir, we move. And Jesus said, not this time, not this time. You are not moving now. You can't move. You can't move. I had just legitimized the occupation of demons in this territory. You can't move. You can't. The end of that story was that marvel was still happening in this. The Bible said the Decapolis is a coalition of 10 cities. This one man that Jesus showed mercy, he went through the Decapolis. That is a coalition, a conglomeration of 10 cities, and everywhere he went, the testimony, the effect was marvel. The Bible says people marveled. So when they were asking Jesus to leave, it was convenient for Jesus to leave because there was somebody that Jesus will not allow to leave. And so I know that there are some of you that are planning to leave. In fact, you know, some of us, I tell you a personal story. Some of us as a person, if it wasn't that God cornered some men, all right? There are 2 people that brought me up in the Lord. One of them had packed his bag and he had boarded a vehicle to leave our land to go to Lagos. He was in the motor park when God told him, where are you going? Where are you going? That was how God sent him back. Not knowing that shortly before that time, my father in the Lord, while he was serving somewhere in the east, one of the afternoons, I think it was, yes, while he was serving, all right, he sat down to eat food, swallow food and soap. And he said, as he closed his eyes to pray over the food, God took him in a vision. And it took 2 hours before he came back to his consciousness. And in that vision, God showed him the dilapidated estate of the Igala nation and was asking him, will you go there for me? It was because of village boys like us that God didn't let those people leave the village. So when the man finished youth service, he already knew that his job was cut out for him. He went back into the village, and the other man that was on his way running to Lagos, God sent him back to the same village. That was how those that sat in darkness saw a great light. The manifestation of the sons of God. It is that God makes investment in your life and you become God's strategy. All right? You become God's decor. People see you, but they don't know what is behind you. Because they have said to him, get out of here. And he's okay. I'm going, but I'm not going. Because before you came, I already invested into someone. And so that one is going to be here. So there are prayers you pray that God may not give you the answer you desire. Because you are God's strategy. You are God's strategy. Right now, I don't know how many nations are represented in this place. Ordinarily, when people go for tourism and that kind of thing, Makurdi is not normally on that map. Say, man, I really want to travel next year. And if anywhere in the world you meet somebody in the US and they're like, man, I really need to travel next year. In Canada, I really need to travel next year. Whatever it is in your mind, I'm sure that Makurdi will not be an option. To say, this guy is so desperate to travel. Where does he want to go to? You'll be thinking of some exotic locations around the world. But you see, this is what happens when God plants a man in the oddest of places. And sometimes you want to run away because it is stiff and the land is hard and it is difficult and you are looking for greener pasture. I'd like for you to know that God is strong or weak in a place depending on his people in the place. You know, there are places you go into, and it's as if the heavens over you is brass, and the earth beneath you is iron. If you wanted to plow, it's as if you want to make ridges on stony ground. All right? Spiritually, it is like that. And there are places you go to, and it's like there is a vault out of heaven that continually pours into the place. God is not partial over places, but God is biased towards his people. It is people that trap the essence and the presence of God in a place. It is people, it's the labors of people that soften ground. The place I came out of, that land that I came out of, my father and the Lord have shared that testimony, here in Makurdi before. Every missionary that came to that place with fire before him, none could survive. Because there was a lion. There was a lion that literally used to scare them out. And the scare is not in visions and dreams. The last missionary that left before he came, that one left with bruises all over his body. But the moment the attack happens and the lion vanishes, you can't pursue it, you can't see it physically. And now God sends this one too into the place. And it comes, and the lion also comes, because that was one of the ruling authorities over the land in the spirit. It is because those kinds of principalities, it's because those kinds of spirit beings exist. That is why God would not allow certain people to leave certain places. And there are some of you that will be wondering, why is it that God sends me always to the hard place, the hard place? You should actually wear that as a badge of honor. There are some people that God does not trust too much to let them see adversity. There are some persons that, you see, when you are going to war, they look for fit men. The people they conscript, they draft into the battle. They are men that are fit. And a lot of times, examinations are done, psychological, physical tests, and all of that is done to ensure eligibility before you are drafted into the corps. And when you are so drafted, the training is rigorous. When Jesus was baptized in the Jordan, as he came out of the Jordan, the Bible says the Spirit of the Lord descended in the form of a dove, and a voice came out of the heaven that said, "You are my beloved son, and in you I am well pleased." That was like the best affirmative statement you could ever hear from God. This is not a public testimony. This is divine testimony. This is God saying, "You are my beloved son, and I am well pleased in you." You know what happened the next moment? The Spirit of God leads Jesus into a wilderness to be tempted of the devil. So I became confused. I said, "Sir, you just said you love this man and you are well pleased in him. And the next thing, you are leading him into the wilderness." The people that were in that service that day that saw what happened, what fantasies do you think they would have had about the experiences of Jesus when they left that service that day? That night they would have been wondering like, man, wow, that guy must be floating on cloud nine. He must be enjoying so much of God. They didn't realize that after that service when God spoke so affirmatively about Jesus, after that service, Jesus spent that night in the wilderness. The Bible said, and immediately the Spirit drove him into the wilderness. They didn't give him opportunity to go back home and pack for retreat. He came out of the waters. He was still dripping when the Spirit led him into the wilderness to be tempted of the devil. And my point is this: God, if this is what you do to your beloved, what do you do to people you hate? The one you love, you are sending him into the wilderness. So if you didn't love him, because if you heard God say, "This is my beloved daughter, this is my beloved son," what imageries will be coming to your mind about the experiences that person will be having with God? Anything but a wilderness experience where they are exposed to demons and the devil himself and wild beasts. But you see, the moment God lays his hand on a man, when he lays his hand on the man, he comes after people for purposes that are personal to him. So the question this morning is this: are you one of the people that are the problems of the land? Because over every land, there are demons, there are pig headers, and then there are these helpless people. And the helpless person becomes the strategy of Jesus only after Jesus has succeeded in his life.
What a wonderful time of prayer, and I'm sure that you have been blessed already. Nothing else apart from the blessing of God is what you have received already for joining us today in that session of prayer. We want to plead with you to please like this video, to share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to our channel if this is the first time you're coming across us. And if you want to